Next is empathy. Okay, so which all topics we covered till now? Professional respect. Those two are covered. The third is empathy. Now you can only understand people if you feel them in yourself. Now let me ask you an interesting question. What is the difference between sympathy and empathy?
Empathy is putting yourself in other person's shoes.
Right.
And sympathy is just like somebody sharing his and her, situation, and you are just like okay, like, just listening.
Sympathy is feeling pity on anyone, but empathy is in a good
Doing
manner,
something for them.
something positive.
Win-win
situation for both.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sympathy is more, if you ask me, problem oriented. मैं समझ सकता हूँ आपको कैसा लग रहा है, मैं फील कर सकता हूँ कि आप कैसा फील कर रहे हो। उससे होने क्या वाला है? पहले मैं अकेला रोक रहा था, अब आप भी मेरे साथ कंपनी ने मेरे साथ बहुत गलत किया, यू आर नॉट अलोन, मेरे साथ भी बहुत गलत किया, आपकी रेटिंग खराब की, मेरी भी खराब की। अब क्या करेंगे हम दोनों मिलके रोएंगे और बुराई करेंगे, कंपनी कितनी खराब है, हमने इतना जीत तोड़ मेहनत किया फिर भी हमको कुछ नहीं मिला। एम्पैथी क्या है? आप समझ सकते हो कि वो क्या कर रहा है, यू कैन पुट योर सेल्फ इन देयर शूज, व्हाई दे आर थिंकिंग इन दैट वे, बट इट इज मोर सॉल्यूशन ड्रिवन, कि आप उनको ये बता पाओ कि यू आर इनटू दिस सिचुएशन और मैं आपकी जगह होता तो मैं शायद ये करता, राइट? सो व्हाइल यू नीड टू पुट योरसेल्फ इनटू कस्टमर शूज, दैट डजंट मीन्स कि कस्टमर की तरह आप भी हो जाओ, देन इट्स नॉट गोइंग टू हेल्प. So always remember, empathy is more solution driven, where you can help them in moving forward, not join them. You don't necessarily need to join them because then you won't get any solution. So empathy in customer service means ability to understand customers' feelings, customers' perspectives, and customers' experiences. These are the three different aspects you need to look at it. Why they are saying what they are saying, what kind of experience they would have gone through before they have reached this stage, and how they might be feeling. And once we are able to understand these three things, then we can call them, yes, we are demonstrating empathy. Key elements: understanding emotions. Okay, and these days there is a lot of talk about emotional intelligence. Intelligence, we talk a lot about it. पहले नहीं था, and over time we haven't heard about this thing. It was all about IQ. आपका इंटेलिजेंट क्वेश्चन कितना अच्छा है कोई डिफाइन करता था, कि टीचर्स आपको पसंद करते हैं कि नहीं करते हैं, इमोशनल ज़्यादा हो तो बेकार हो, देयर इज नो रेस्पेक्ट फॉर इमोशंस इन दिस वर्ल्ड, ऐसे बोलते थे ना लोग, आपका फायदा उठाएंगे एंड ऑल दैट. सो दीज डेज अंडरस्टैंडिंग इमोशन इज इम्पॉर्टेंट, बिकॉज अनलेस यू अंडरस्टैंड इमोशंस, आप इंसान हो, पत्थर तो नहीं हो ना, तो आप इमोशन सामने वाले के समझोगे नहीं तो आप वो फील नहीं कर पाओगे व्हाट दैट पर्सन इज फीलिंग, एंड इफ यू कांट रियली फील यू वोंट बी एबल टू ऑब्जेक्टिवली गिव अ सॉल्यूशन टू दैट. जेन्युइनली कंसर्न, फेक कंसर्न मत दिखाना. मिले हो कभी किसी से कि जो फेक कंसर्न दिखाते हैं और आपको मालूम पड़ जाता है कि ये एक्टिंग कर रहे हैं. आई हैव मेट एक्सट्रीमली हैप्पी पीपल. किसी सोशल सेटिंग में जाओ ना, दीज पीपल आर ओवर एंथुजियास्टिक. वो आके आपको ऐसे मिलेंगे कि दे नो इट फ्रॉम लॉन्ग, एंड आफ्टर सम टाइम दैट सेम पर्सन इज मीटिंग समबडी एल्स विद द सेम enthusiasm, with the same kind of thing. There's a term which is used for such kind of people, social butterflies. So what happens is they don't really connect with anyone. They move from flower to flower, flower to flower. So they might be knowing very many people but not really able to connect deeply with anyone. So here you need to show genuine concern when you are interacting with people so that they can feel it. Listen actively. सुनना जरूरी है. Validate and acknowledge. What do we mean by validate and acknowledge? Many a time just by saying that line, when somebody is sharing their experience, you just need to say, sir, I can understand your concern, I can feel what you are feeling. When you say this particular line, the customer comes on your side, and then you talk about what you want to say. In sales also, when we teach objection handling, usually when you people from sales are here, no? I think
Yes.
there were some people. So when you go to customer, there are objections. Now it could be customer says your product is very costly. Price objection could be there. Now there are various ways of handling it. One is you can say, no sir, this is not costly. If you see this has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 benefits. Second is you can tell them, yes sir, I can understand that you are feeling this is an expensive, but, and then you go about telling this is expensive because it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because when you say that you empathize with them, the customer comes on your side, and for you it helps you in making a transition and then handle the objection. If you go directly, you get into a conflict, right? And tailor-made responses. This is what I was talking about a short while back also. Don't try to use the same template on each and every one. It's not going to work. You have to tailor your responses according to the situation, and that's what's going to help you get pally with the customer and give them a better solution. Same formula can be used in different combinations. We all have studied what probability, permutation, combinations पढ़ा है ना सब हमने. So same set of variables आप combine करके you can create thousands of equations and you can have different results. So same is the thing. Basics, fundamentals will remain always same. What you need to do, demonstrate empathy, be respectful. You might get a script also, but you can't be just using the same script with every customer. Then it becomes monotonous and customer is also able to understand that. Okay. कॉल सेंटर से कॉल आती है किसी को लोन के लिए, इंश्योरेंस के लिए, फोन उठाते ही समझ में आ जाता है कि वो स्क्रिप्ट पढ़ रहे हैं. एंड उसकी जगह अगर कोई आपको फोन उठा के पहले आपसे परमिशन ले कि आप फ्री हैं कि नहीं हैं, whether you are looking for this thing or not, and then आपसे बात करें तो शायद आप उसको एक बार सुन लोगे.
2 मिनट एटलीस्ट
आप सुनोगे. अभी क्या है, फोन उठाते हैं, सर आई एम कॉलिंग फ्रॉम XYZ इंश्योरेंस कंपनी, हम ये दे रहे हैं, वेरी गुड फॉर यू. मेरे साथ एक एक्सपीरियंस हुआ कुछ महीने पहले. सुबह आई थिंक 8, सवा 8 बजे फोन आया, आई एम कॉलिंग फ्रॉम सो कंपनी. मैंने कहा वेरी गुड सर, वी हैव प्रॉपर्टीज इन पुणे, वी हैव प्रॉपर्टीज इन गोवा, इधर उधर. मैं सुना उसको 2-3 मिनट. मैंने कहा वेरी गुड, आई एम वेरी हैप्पी फॉर यू, यू हैव मेड सच अ गुड पोर्टफोलियो, हाउ कैन आई हेल्प यू? सर आर यू लुकिंग फॉर इन्वेस्टमेंट? My friend, the question you should have asked me first, or you are asking after 5 minutes. और 5 मिनट से आप मेरे को बताया जा रहे हो कि आपकी कहाँ प्रॉपर्टीज है, आपकी कंपनी क्या करती है. मैंने आपसे पूछा नहीं, आप कोल्ड कॉल कर रहे हो और उसके बाद मेरे से परमिशन ली नहीं आपने. सुबह सुबह पहला कॉल आपका आता है और उसमें बता रहे हो कि आपके पास कितनी प्रॉपर्टी है. मेरे पास कुछ नहीं है, मेरे को बड़ा खराब लग रहा है. गेटिंग माय पॉइंट?
यस यस
स्क्रिप्ट उसने सेम यूज कर सकता था, बट उसको कस्टमाइज करना चाहिए था. Importance of empathy, enhanced problem resolution. That is how it has, because once you are able to understand somebody else's feeling, you are able to tailor-made your responses. आप वही बात बताने का तरीका आपको डिफरेंट हो सकता है. ठीक है. Increase customer engagement. कस्टमर को एंगेज करना जरूरी है, क्योंकि अगर कस्टमर डिसएंगेज हो गया तो उससे प्रॉब्लम ये होती है कि आप जो भी बोलोगे ना वो सुनेगा ही नहीं. He might be able to hear you but not really listen to you. समझेगा भी नहीं. Improve customer loyalty. Customer loyalty improves, and as customer loyalty improves, आपका मोरल भी बढ़ता है. होता है कि नहीं? When you are able to resolve some problem effectively, it makes you feel good. उससे क्या होता है? Confidence आपका बढ़ता है. जब आपका confidence बढ़ता है, next time you get same kind of person to deal with, या कोई difficult situation आ जाती है, you are better prepared mentally. Yes, I can take it. और यहाँ अगर नहीं हुआ in initial instances, next time कुछ ऐसा आता है, आप पहले से ही back foot पे हो. तो something like क्रिकेट खेलने गए, पहले ओवर में बाउंसर्स आने लगे, तो आपको कॉन्फिडेंस तो हिल गया. तो आपको लगा पता नहीं दूसरा बॉलर भी कैसा आएगा. Well, if you are able to make a good start, you are able to carry on the momentum. So this is important for you to carry on momentum. And a positive work culture, where you are able to serve people in a better way, solve problems, your morale is high, work culture better hota hai. The most worst work culture happens at places where employee morale is low, because then everybody is not thinking about growth, progress, everybody is thinking about survival. कि आज का दिन तो निकले, let me look forward to 30th, 31st or 1st, जिस दिन भी वो मैसेज एक आता है ना. So that's what positive work culture is. Now some steps which you can follow to practice empathy in your role. Actively listening. Yeah. If you are not doing, please start doing it. Avoid making assumptions. So there was, I think कुछ दिन पहले I was listening to one of the clippings from MSD's interview somewhere, MS Dhoni. He was saying there is nothing called common sense. He said when I used to take team meetings as a captain, शुरू में मैंने सोचा कि ये तो basic है, international level के players हैं, इनको पता ही होगा. But then I realized every person is at a different ground. So even if it was the most basic thing, he said कि I used to say it. And बोला था मैं one to one नहीं बोल सकता था, because then people would have considered कि he is demeaning us. So I used to say it in meeting in a group. Those people who knew it was not meant for them, but it was meant for those people who were relatively new in the team और जिनको ये चीज नहीं पता थी. So never make assumption, and the best way to get responses, to get the right kind of information is ask. Okay, ask open-ended questions. What is open-ended questions? एक एग्जांपल करें. ओके, आज सबने ब्रेकफास्ट किया है?
Yes.
दिस इज ए क्लोज एंडेड क्वेश्चन. यस होगा या नो होगा? क्या किया है? क्या खाया सर आपने आज?
सर ब्रेकफास्ट किया था, ब्रेड और जैम.
आपने क्या खाया? मैगी. So this is open-ended. Okay. So these kind of open-ended questions are required to get the maximum information. Usually, what we propose is when you're interacting with people, it could be a combination of open-ended and close-ended questions. So starting में qualify करने के लिए आप close-ended ले सकते हैं. Then you go deeper, go for open-ended question. Sir, is it the right time to talk to you?
Yes.
Yes or no? Close-ended. If the customer says yes, then you can go about asking, okay, now tell me the thing. If the customer says no, then what will be the next question? So what is the right time to call you?
Right time.
This is a open-ended. Customer can reply anything. Put yourself into customer shoes, but don't wear his shoes. Okay. Put yourself in the customer shoes, understand, and then interact. Show genuine concern. Empathetic language. Any example of empathetic language? How do you demonstrate empathy?
Sir, I can understand your concern. I will definitely help you with the same.
Yes, I can definitely help you.
Thanks for being patient with us.
Thank you for being patient with us. Yes, I can understand what you have experienced and provide custom solutions. So these are the 7 ways in which you can practice empathy. Clear?
Yes.
Any doubts? Any questions? Such simple things. Why are we having training? This is my question to you.
अभी आपने एग्जांपल दिया ना इंडस्ट्री वाला बेसिक्स तो
Whatever is simple is not necessarily easy. There is a difference between the two. We need constant reminder to do simple things.
Yes.
Yes.
And whatever is simple to do is not easy to do. You have to work on it to make it easy. It doesn't happen on its own. So while you might have known some of these things or most of these things, how many of these things are you actually applying in your day-to-day life or day-to-day work is what matters. So these sessions are meant to act as a constant reminder that this is what you're supposed to be doing. I don't expect you to do everything what I am going to share with you in 2 hours, but even if you pick up 1 or 2 things and go and apply it, will it make a change?
Yes, definitely.
That's why this training. Okay. So I am justifying my presence here. Okay. So let's move on to effective communication. Communication is the human connection to personal and career success. We all understand? Yeah. Now let me see if I can play this video. Anyone wants to share something from this video?
Effectiveness of communication.
Effectiveness of communication, yes.
Yeah.
What else? One key takeaway. So it was about communication, that's for sure. The video talks about the way you communicate speaks about you. Because a blind person was able to understand who were these people who were communicating with him by just listening to them. He was not able to see them. The core message which I would like you to take from this is, when you are communicating with someone, mostly the mistake that we do as individuals is we communicate by looking at the person with whom we are communicating. So our way of communication might be different with a senior level person, and our communication would be different with a junior level person, because we look how much authority that person carries and accordingly we communicate. What we forget is, if we are not behaving in the right way or not communicating in the right way, even to the person who is not that important, doesn't carry that much of authority, but he would be certainly carrying an impression in his or her mind. Clear? So this is the core message which I would like to convey you, and that is what the importance of communication is. So communication essentially is a process where you have a sender of the message, then you have a receiver of the message. The sender sends the message encoding into a particular language, with the receiver decodes and then sends the feedback. So here I am communicating with you in a language, you are understanding it, and for communication to be complete, an essential part is there, which is feedback. And that's why again and again I am asking you whether you are able to understand, getting a response, because if I don't get this feedback, in my mind I am doing the best job in the world, but whether you are able to understand or not is what matters, because if that's not happening, then it's not effective communication. Am I clear?
Yes.
Okay. It's the act of exchanging thoughts, ideas, views with others, verbally as well as non-verbally. Okay. So this is the communication cycle. Okay. So here you have a sender encoding the message, then passing through a channel, then the receiver receiving it, decoding it, giving you feedback through the same channel. So channel could be technology, the Zoom platform, phone, mode of communication. This is face-to-face interaction. So here we have face-to-face also as well as virtual also, which is happening simultaneously. So importance of communication, self-explanatory, essential life skill for all aspects of life. And if you ask me, most of the problems that happen in this world because of lack of proper communication. So it could be between a husband and wife. There is a lack of communication. Wife thinks he should understand, I am working so damn hard, I am taking care of his house, family, I have left my home and all that thing. But unless you explicitly tell what is it that you want, he might be understanding in his head the way you are not expressing, he is not expressing. So in your head you are making assumptions. So lack of communication is happening, and same thing happens in organization also. We as employees sometimes assume boss should see how much work I am doing, and if boss is not happy, he would say, what kind of employee is it? He is not justifying what they are working for, what their salary they are getting. Now instead of making these assumptions, and what happens, the funny part, we don't communicate for most of the times in the right way, and we keep on suppressing things within inside us. One fine day, there is a small trigger and the whole thing blows up. Everything comes out. And when it happens, it's not in the very appropriate way. So boss might be suppressing his emotions throughout. Okay, let me ignore. And one fine day, some small error, and you would be surprised, what did I do? It was just a small error and I am listening so much. So this is what happens. That's why timely communication, effectively communication might diffuse many situations. It can diffuse international conflicts also. So if Mr. Putin and Ukraine president would have communicated in the right way, we could have avoided an international conflict. Clear?
Yes.
Now communication, when it comes to, is essentially of two types, based on channels and based on purpose. So channels, when we say, it's verbal and non-verbal, and when it comes to purpose, it is formal and informal communication. So let's look at based on channels. Now before it comes to them, now this is an interesting slide which I think you should know. Many times when we communicate, we are very much focused on the language that we are speaking and the words that we are talking. Now there was a study which is done by Albert Mehrabian, and he did two studies. He was a psychologist, and according to his study, these were the results. So 55% of whether somebody likes us or doesn't like us is not decided by our words. It is decided by the non-verbal elements, the way we are conducting ourselves, the expressions, the body language part of it. 55%. Okay. 38% is vocal liking. Vocal liking means your tone, the way you are talking. And only 7% is what words you are using. So you might be using, so when we were studying, we used to do something for fun. Okay. So many people did not know good English at that point of time. So my friend was there, he used to go someone and say, "Oh, you are looking so atrocious." And invariably people used to say thank you. Now atrocious is very bad, ugly, if you look at it. But the way of communicating was that if he's praising someone, so people used to say, "Oh."
Powerful page.
So yeah, so you are looking so atrocious, and somebody who did not know what atrocious means, "Oh, thank you very much, so kind of you." So what I'm trying to say, it's not much as much about the words that you are using, it's the way you are communicating to them. So tone. So while we are interacting communication, we need to be mindful of the 55% part, then 38%, and then comes to 7. Mostly we are focused on 7% more. Let's use flowery words, let's use good words, that is going to help us. So that's important, but other part is important as well. Now, based upon channels, we have verbal and non-verbal. So verbal communication is the sharing of information among individuals or group using words. Simple. How do you share information? Verbal communication. How do we share information with others? What are the ways? WhatsApp. So broadly, can we say it is oral and written? These are two main ways. So it is the most common way of communicating with people. What you need to understand is, for effective verbal communication, there are three important things. One is accuracy, second is clarity, and third is correct. Sometimes confusion happens because of lack of clarity in communication. You are saying something, other person is understanding something. It happens because there is lack of clarity which is there, and or maybe the information or message is not correct. Yeah. So oral plus written is equal to verbal communication. Now in oral communication, these are some of the ways: spoken words, telephone conversation, face-to-face conversation, speech, presentation, and discussion. Whatever we are doing right now is also oral. Okay. Now basic factors that you should be mindful. These are important. So first is volume. Am I audible?
Yes.
So when you are communicating, make sure that you are audible. Zoom has taught us this thing. Anyone joins on Zoom?
Yes.
Am I audible? That's the first question we ask. So we need to ask and be very, very specific about it. That when we are talking to someone, they are able to hear us. नहीं होगा तो क्या होगा? If that person is also shy, he or she may not ask you or tell you that you are not audible. That person will listen half things and half he will made up in his mind. And that leads to lack of communication. Second is rate of speech. Are you able to understand me clearly? So rate of speech should not be too fast. Some people have this habit of talking too fast. So you don't decipher what they are saying. And some people are too slow. You go to sleep before they utter the next word. Okay. Clarity, right words, correct pronunciation, and tone. Again, the tone is coming. Polite and confident. So polite tone and confident tone, clear?
Yes.
Underconfident could be you are mumbling words, not really able to say what you want to say. And a non-polite could be at borderline arrogance, where you are trying to show your authority, throw your weight around, showing that you are some big shot. So don't be that. Howsoever big shot you are, and if you see mostly people, and I'm talking about good examples, as they grow in stature, they become more polite, they become more humble. Most of them. And it's not that they are not confident, they are confident about themselves. But that is how it is supposed to be. Basic etiquettes that you should keep in mind while communicating orally. These are do's. Speak at a good volume, that so that you are audible. I had requested for a collar mic for this training. Okay, but then I was told it's not available. So my next question was, is the seating in a way that participants will be able to hear me out? Okay, why? Because if you are not able to hear me, then I will be putting my energy, you will be wasting your time, and it's not going to help any one of us. Then I was told that the seating is such that it would be clearly audible. Okay, so one needs to ensure it. Fillers, what is it, fillers?
Gap, pause, maybe.
When you are not able to find the right words.
Yeah.
So use some kind of fillers. Some fillers everybody uses. It's very difficult unless you are a very eloquent kind of a speaker who can speak non-stop. Mostly use, but the idea is minimize because it disengages the audience. Even if it's a one-to-one discussion and you are searching for words in most cases, which happens with most of Indians when we talk in English, because that's not our native language. Then we resort to fillers. How can you do that? By increasing your vocabulary. How can you increase your vocabulary? By having more input of words. How can you have more input of words? By reading more, by practicing more, by listening more. That's how we do. Control your rate of speech. Pause. What do you mean by pause? Take some pauses. Don't be in a rush, keep on talking so that the other person is. What you need to understand, communication involves encoding of message and it also involves decoding of the message. So you are encoding, sending, let other person decode also so that they are able to understand what you are saying. Speak politely, use courteous words, check your choice of words, what kind of words you are using, so be very mindful and use correct grammar, especially when it comes to English language, if the communication is happening. And seek clarity. Seek clarity is, if you are not, it's a two-way communication. If you are not able to understand something, ask. That's what seek clarity means. Asking both ways. So for example, if you see, I have been asking you time and again, are you able to understand? Is it clear? Now who is sharing? Who is talking? Myself? Ideally what should happen? If you don't understand, you should be asking me clarity. But even when I am talking, I am asking you whether you are able to understand. Are you getting it clearly? So that communication is effective. So this is effective communication practice, what you can say. Don't.
What is this control your rate of speech? This is about speech?
Speech. Mumble.
Okay.
Clear? Mumble is when we search for words, we are not able to find them. Speak too fast. Take very long pauses. So while pause is good, very long pauses not recommended. Slangs. What is slang? Unofficial, unparliamentary word.
Right.
It could be borderline abusive, something which we should not be using. Now we get used to these kind of words, and sometimes it happens. So what's up?
Yeah.
It's more of a slang. It's not an official,
Yeah.
but we tend to use it sometimes if we get used. Okay. Jargons. What are jargons? Specialized terms which might be known to you, might be prevalent in your choice of work, in your industry, but common people don't know.
Maybe abbreviation within organization.
Within organization, so for example, if you go into medical industry, there are so many terms which are there.
Right.
Common people are not aware of.
Right.
We became aware of COVID-19 because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we don't know what it is. Similarly, in IT industry also, there are certain jargons. So don't use them. We tend to use it. And I will again share a small example. So the organization I was working in, one of the organizations, so there was a town hall in which our CEO shared one instance. So I was into loan business. Okay. So there the field executives used to go to the customer to collect the application form and then get the loan sanction. Now as a first step of this process is when the customer's file is sourced and it is put into the system, that process is known as login. And once that is done, customers address verification is done. In our language, it is known as field investigation. Field investigations becomes FI. So this gentleman went to customer, told him, सर मैंने आपकी एप्लीकेशन फॉर्म फिल कर लिया है, आज भी इसको लॉग इन कर दूंगा और 1-2 दिन में आपकी FI हो जाएगी. That customer was not very educated. He got scared. He wrote a mail to the customer care. I just applied for a simple loan. Why is it FIR being done for me and what wrong I have done? Getting my point?
Yeah.
उसको नहीं पता कि वो आपकी FI है क्या होता है. Even I was not aware before I went into that business. So it became very confusing. And that complaint reached to the CEO level. So you can understand the impact of small fallacies that can happen because of communication. So avoid jargon so that your communication is clear. What you are trying to communicate, customer is able to understand. Sound rude, self-explanatory. Now these are some of the telephone etiquettes. Any one of you who is dealing in telephone, everyone is dealing,
Everyone.
whether client or customer service or everyone. So these are certain etiquettes that you can follow. Be consistent when you are talking. Never interrupt. And I consider this as one of my weaknesses because if somebody interrupts when I'm talking on a phone or somewhere, I tend to lose my cool, and most people do. Because if you're interrupting somebody midway, that person has not completed, it might lead to a conflict situation. So don't interrupt, hear them out, let them complete. And if you see that somebody is stretching for long, then you may ask for permission.
Yes.
Sir, I have heard you, may I interrupt?
Yeah.
Permission and then get in, but don't barge in. And we tend to do it unconsciously. It has become more of habit. And why it has become? Because we have become impatient. We have graduated from watching 30 minutes TV serials to 30 minutes reels. That's the transition which has happened. So reels, everybody watches Insta reels. Why is it working?
Short time.
Because we don't have any patience.
Yes.
YouTube when it started couple of years back, when I created my channel, we used to be told create a long form content. Okay. Now, if you go to expert, they are saying make short form content. YouTube was forced to launch shorts. Shorts was not there initially. It came in because there was a demand, because we have become impatient. Be aware of the hold button, where to put the hold while transferring. This is more applicable in your landline scenario, but in case of mobile also, if you need to consult with someone of your colleagues, you should know how to hold, because the other person on the line should not be privy to the discussion that you are having with somebody else. How to transfer the call. And when I started my career, I did not know how to transfer the call. So there used to be a flash button that you had to press and then transfer the call. These days I think it's not very prevalent, but at that point of time it used to be there. Keep the customer informed. Inform about what?
Conference call and all.
When you are going to call, if you are connecting somebody else, whether you are going to put them on hold, seek permission. Smile while talking to customers. It may seem little awkward, nobody is watching you, but when you smile and talk, it impacts your tone, the way you are talking to customer. It impacts your sound, and the customer may also get your energy when you are talking. How to handle angry and abusive people. So for this, I would recommend you to refer to your code of conduct, what your organization says that if you get an abusive and angry customer, how to deal with them. For example, airline industry have their code of conduct, how to tell the customers when their passengers, when they're getting abusive, if they are not minding, then hand them over to police. So every organization has this kind of code of conduct, so just follow that, how to handle them. Answer the call within 3 rings. No matter which kind of phone you are using, don't let the phone ring for a long time. Because if you don't pick up in 3 rings, customer's temperature starts rising. And if he's an aggrieved customer. So these days when we are using automated voice calling system, any organization you go, press this for this, press this for this. Senior people are not liking it. Okay. They get irritated. Because to get hold of the right person, you have to juggle out your way for at least 2, 3, 4 minutes. Which buttons to press, and then only you will get the customer service operators with whom you can talk. Background noise should not be there. as I was telling, many times we get call for pitching for products and services.
Yes, always get.
How you can recognize whether it is from a professional place or whether you would like to talk or not? There's a lot of background noise.
Yes.
There are hundreds of people sitting in that particular space and making calls, and you can clearly listen so much of noise, and you won't like to talk in that environment. Mostly, personally, I say thank you and disconnect. That's what I do. Ask questions and take notes. Make note of anything which is important, because human memory cannot help you when you need it the most. We tend to forget things when we need to remember the things. सबसे ज़्यादा बोलते हम एग्जाम में थे, जब हाथ जोड़ के जाते थे कि सब याद हो जाए, अच्छे से एग्जाम हो जाए, वहीं जाके भूल जाते थे. So make notes. Clear? So this is for telephone etiquette. Some of the tips: identify yourself, seek permission. If you are occupied, call back. Don't interrupt. Never engage in argument, and don't talk on phone while eating.
Yeah.
मोस्ट बहुत इरिटेटिंग होता है जब कोई खाते खाते बात कर रहा है, तो हमको नहीं पता वो क्या खा रहा है, बट तकलीफ बहुत होती है.
I usually disconnect.
हाँ ना, क्विकली डिस्कनेक्ट. These are minor irritants.
This is happening in my family,
हाँ.
but I usually, this is literally irritating.
हाँ, so it's irritating with somebody, because that what it shows. क्यों irritating लगता है? That person is not giving you importance.
Yes.
That's the message which you get. वो खा रहा है, आपसे बात भी कर रहा है, बट आपको लगता है कि ये फिर इम्पोर्टेंस नहीं दे रहा, तो बात नहीं बात करते हैं. That's better.
जैसे वो इंटरेक्शन में आई कांटेक्ट इज
हाँ
इम्पोर्टेंट.
हाँ. आप बात कर रहे हो, कोई नीचे देख रहा है, इधर देख रहा है,
वो भी बहुत
और आजकल तो
खाना खाने टाइम कौन उठा रहा है, मतलब इम्पोर्टेंस दे रहा है ना सर.
आपको लग रहा है. Again I'm saying this is an assumption for you
This is myth.
कि you are giving importance, but other person is not getting it. So what would be another better way? जो काफी लोग करते हैं, pick up the phone, tell, can I call you back in 10 minutes? I'm just having my lunch.
Yes.
सामने वाला appreciate करेगा, but ये कि कॉल कर लेना. मतलब खाना खा के कॉल नहीं, ये नहीं कि आज नहीं, रात का खाना खा के कॉल करोगे कल का. So that's important. Let the caller hang up first. पहले उनको hang up करने दो, फिर आप फोन काटना. And some organizations have implemented this last point very seriously. You know, some organizations are there where the call center executive insists that you disconnect the phone. They will not disconnect. Sometimes if they come across an irate customer, उसको वो बोलते रहेंगे, okay sir, have I solved the problem? Could you please disconnect the phone? पहले नहीं था ये. Now this is happening because if they disconnect, and since most of the calls are recorded for training and quality purposes, so if somebody does an audit and they are caught, it would be a problem for them. Clear? Now written communication.